I've been spending a little bit more time with the Casio HT6000. This is a digital programmable synthesizer from Casio from the late 80s with an analog filter, and you can see it's got two wheels there. Must be good. It's a kind of like a up-contented version of the HT3000. And when we think of Casios, we oftentimes think of the CZ range for programmable synths, but this is the HT. So the HT range went from the HT700 to the 3000 to the 6000, this being the top of the line and a pretty serious instrument, but packaged more like a home use toy synth. It did not get the fanfare it would have if it was packaged more like the M1, and people would have really gravitated towards it.
Well, you gotta have a lot of money if you're gonna live like I live. I eat 4-cheese lasagna.
And as I play this synth, it feels like David Lynch. It is nasal, very interesting and competent, but also a bit confusing.
Cooper, you remind me today of a small Mexican chihuahua. Can I speak to you a moment in private, Coop?
Of course, Gordon. Harry, can we use your office?
You might ask the sheriff if we could use his office.
Go right ahead.
And if you're ready to wow wow, then let's explore this synth. So take a moment to, I guess, firewalk with me, and we'll try to keep the David Lynch comments to a minimum. So looking at this, you can see that there are a lot of things that you can manage, from velocity to upper and lower tone controls or parameters. I really like to keep it to the upper only and have the whole synth be one instrument versus doing splits, but that's just the way I work. And because everything can today be done in digital recorders, like I feel like it's always just better to have full control over the whole instrument versus splits. But again, that's me. So with the actual parameters that you can affect for the synthesis, you have a DCO, an LFO, a VCF, a VCA, and that gives you a lot of control. The parameters are quite good in the fact that you have a decent amount of different waves to start from, and of course you can affect every preset and rewrite them if you want to. But it is all controlled with the wheel, so you use the wheel to select the parameter and the right wheel to select the value.
I believe in this thing they call the wheel of birth and death, that we are all on a wheel of being born, living, dying, spending some time on the other side, and then getting born and living and dying until we gain
synth mastery. And I think this is what we can do with these different waveforms that we can choose from. There is a lot that you can really do. I think the VCF here is pretty cool. The LFO really is pretty minimal from my perspective. Like, it does not feel like I can do enough with it to make it really reasonably excellent, but at the same time, kind of fun. And there's the LFO kind of just being the wobbly, flabby LFO that you might expect on a lesser synth. I always kind of feel like LFOs are either boring or amazing, depending on the instrument. And I think this one really is in the boring category. No diss to David Lynch or to Casio here, but it's really kind of like doing the basics. As we get into the DCA, which is the digitally controlled amplifier, we've got ADSR, attack, decay, sustain, and release as unique parameters. But then it's a little confusing because then you've got attack curve, decay curve, key follow, noise attack time, and decay time, which are great elements, but they just feel like they're ordered out of place for how I would think about creating a sound. If I'm thinking about the attack, I want to think about attack time and curve as direct follow-on parameters rather than having them be two discrete things. And the way it's laid out on the actual keyboard itself is like really, really challenging for me because it just feels like, it's just all laid out there by somebody who never really thought about the workflow of sound design.
And I'm scared like I can't tell you. Of all people, you're standing right over there, and you're scared. I get even more frightened when I see how afraid you are, and there's a man in back of this place. I can see him through the wall.
And I guess I'm scared because it is spooky time this time of year, but it is also a very, interestingly laid out synth because there's so much to offer, so many good features, but the packaging is laid out strange, and it feels like somebody who knew what they wanted but didn't really know how to execute it built the synth overall. Lastly, as we look at the effects, I guess it's a good thing that there aren't too many effects on board here. There is really just like a chorus, and I think that if we did have reverb and flangers and all the other distortion things, obviously we have noise as part of the EDSR that we just talked about, but like there's not a lot of real effects here, and I think that's one thing that's like kind of cool about David Lynch movies, to bring it back to that. Like most of the work he does is using practical effects or special effects, and for the sake of the synthesizer, obviously reverb and all that stuff would really make these sounds better, but I also do like the fact that it's very limited here. I think chorus is probably one of my least chosen effects overall. I'm definitely more of a reverb and delay guy, but like in the end, I do think that this is an admirable way of using effects on a synth like this. So anyway, I hope you found my kind of comparison to this synth to David Lynch like entertaining. I do truly love David Lynch as an artist, even though I don't think all of his output is wonderful. Much like I love Casio, and I do also think that not all of their output is wonderful. But let me know what you think, and definitely like and subscribe if you want to get more off-the-wall content like this.